Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, Mona came to me and said, you need to do your AXO talk. And I was like, oh, great. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. So this is what I'm going to talk about, lessons learned outside your comfort zone. And I'm going to use some life examples that have happened to me in my life, not only to help you guys understand who I am a little bit more, but I think it's easier that way. So yeah, let's dive right in it. So sometimes when you're outside your comfort zone, you might feel like this little explorer guy. So imagine you're, exploring, Antarctica or whatever. You have no idea what's going to happen or what's around the next, turn. Is there going to be thin ice I'm going to fall through and I'm going to freeze to death? Or is there going to be a polar bear that's going to eat me? Or am I going to discover something new and exciting? That's exactly how being outside your comfort zone or what it's like. You have no idea what's going to happen. There are lots of variables. You might not have 100% control of the situation when you're outside your comfort zone. But nonetheless, life begins at the end of your comfort zone or when you're outside your comfort zone. And I believe in that 100%. When you're outside your comfort zone, you learn so much more about the world, not only about the world, but how it works, and you learn a lot about yourself and the people around you as well, and how you can better interact with those people. Now, before I dive into my first little life lesson, I'm only 25 years old. I know you guys might be thinking, hey, what kind of life lessons does this guy have to teach me? But when I tell you I'm a quarter of a century old, then it sounds a lot better, right? Well, that kid's been around for a while. But how many of you know who this guy is? Okay, who is he? Who can tell me who he is? Uncle Rico. What is he famous for? Yeah, football, right? So I'm gonna play Uncle Rico for a second, and we're gonna talk about the first time that I was thrust outside my comfort zone, and it was when I was in high school. Now, Max Preps still has my stats. Yes, they're that good. I was really good at football, and you can see my stats, Zach's stats versus the national average. I was pretty decent, and I had made up my mind that I wanted to go play college football. That was the pinnacle for me. I had made up my mind. Everything I had worked for my whole senior year was to go to that next level. And so when you have numbers like these, people look at you and say, oh, you look great on paper. Let's go ahead and let's fly you out here, and we'll put you in a combine, and we'll learn a lot about you, see if you're mentally fit, physically fit, and see if you're somebody that we want to invest in. Now, during my senior year, I had subluxated my shoulder and had a hairline fracture in my left knee, and I hadn't told anybody. I had gone to the doctor, I had done everything, and I hadn't told anybody because I had made up my mind that nothing was going to stop me from obtaining this goal. Call it tunnel vision. I've learned a lot since then, but that's what it was. And so when you go to these combines, they put you through rigorous training and physicals. It's not necessarily just like the turn your head and cough kind of physical. They hook you up to machines. They evaluate your mind. And my injuries had came up. And every single school that I had flown to and visited, whether it was back east or here in the valley, they said, you look great on paper, but we can't invest in you. You're great, but we need somebody who can play. And that devastated me. From right there, I was thrust completely outside of my comfort zone. I had no idea what I was going to do. Again, my whole entire junior and senior year, I had planned for this moment that I was going to take that pen and sign a letter of intent and say, I'm going to go here. And that was taken from me. And I could have done one of two things. I could have let it get the best of me, or I could have said, hey, you know what? Ah! Yeah. I think my computer just went to sleep. Yeah? Time out. Should I unplug it and plug it back in? Oh, here we go. Hey, we're back. Where was I? I could have let it get the best of me, or I could have taken this situation and made the most of it. And the life lesson that I learned right here is to play the hand that you are dealt. Sometimes when you're outside your comfort zone, you have no idea what the circumstances are, who you're talking to, or what's on the table. But nonetheless, you have to make the most of the situation. And as you move outside your comfort zone, what was once unknown and frightening becomes your new normal. So that became my new goal. My new goal was to understand what I wanted to do in life. Was I going to sit there and cry and balloon up to 300 pounds and say, be Uncle Rico, I could throw a football a quarter mile? Or I could say, you know what, so sorry, Charlie, let's keep moving on. And that's exactly what I did. I went to school and got to a point in my life where I had decided that I was going to serve a mission. Oh, yeah, by the way, Odell Beckham Jr., I did it way before him. And that's on defense, too. So I decided I was going to move to Brazil and serve a mission for my church. And this is what I first found out, that I was moving to Rio de Janeiro. Okay, beautiful beach, townhouses. I know Tom Cruise has a loft here. You have Niterói over here, the Christ statues, Billabong surf contest. I thought I was going to have it all. I thought it was going to be awesome. I might even see a celebrity or two. But when I got there, I couldn't have been more wrong. I know this is a very pixelated picture, but this is where I lived. Yeah, that's where I'd wash my clothes. That's my ironing board, not a surfboard, an ironing board. And where I was the only American for hundreds of miles. And I had to literally learn the language to survive. I had no idea if somebody was yelling at me or inviting me over for dinner. I had no idea. And I had thought I had learned enough Spanish in high school to kind of put two and two together. But that was not the case. I literally had to forget everything that I had learned to then start over. And I know some of you, I told this story when I first introduced myself. Coco versus coco. Coconut water, poop juice. Okay? So I'm just using that as an example. And for those who might not have heard it, I went to a supermarket and I wanted coconut water. And I asked for suco de coco. And I asked for poop juice instead of coconut water. And, I literally was so far outside of my comfort zone that I had to take a couple steps back and kind of assess the situation. And the life lesson that I brought from here is you can't depend on the past to get you through the now. Now, that does not mean you can't learn from your past experiences. What I mean by this is me forgetting Spanish. I could not rely on that. Sometimes in the past, you came up with a solution, or you're in a situation where a solution worked really good, and you might be faced with that solution or that same problem today, but those answers don't translate. So you have to kind of roll with the punches and come up with the new answer. And I couldn't find who made this quote. I think it was a teacher of mine that said, don't look back, you're not headed that way. It's all about right now. The decisions that you make right now, especially when you're outside your comfort zone, that are going to get you to your next step. And the third little lesson, my wife's going to kill me if she saw this. It's going on YouTube, so I'm sure she'll see it, is when we had a baby. Now, I know there's a lot of up-and-coming mothers and fathers here, and I'm not doing this in any way to kind of ruffle your feathers or scare you or anything, but it literally is a life-changing event. Good job, yeah. When you find out your wife's pregnant and you're going through all the doctor's appointments, all you are hoping and praying for is a healthy baby. That's all you want, and I think some mothers and fathers in here could agree with that. When my daughter was born, Dad cuts the umbilical cord and everything. They take her to the word trough comes to mind, but it's not a trough. It's like a little bed, I don't know what else to call it. And yeah, bassinet, there you go, not a trough. Yeah. But, you want to hear the baby cry. And I knew if my daughter cried, everything would be okay, and that wasn't the case. And I remember more and more doctors coming into the room, and they kind of surrounded her bassinet, so I wouldn't see her. And my wife's kind of out of it, I just had a baby or whatever. And so I'm like, let me hear my daughter. What's going on? And so I kind of pushed the doctors aside, and I saw her, and she was blue. And she had ingested some fluids, and they were in her breathing tube, her throat, esophagus. Yeah. I'm not a doctor, okay? But her hands were turning gray. And I don't know if any of you have seen somebody transition from life to death, but a lot of the times they become gray. And at that moment, I sat there and I said, my wife's over here. My daughter is right here, but she's turning gray. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm going to have to buy the smallest coffin that they make. She was unresponsive. Her hands, it was scary. Again, not to scare all you new fathers out here, but there was absolutely nothing I could do. Absolutely nothing I could do. And that took me. That was the furthest I've ever been outside my comfort zone in my whole entire life. There was nothing I could do to help either my wife or my daughter. And this is her right after birth. She's hooked up to these machines, and she's spitting out all this fluid and stuff like that. But the doctor said, she's going to be in the NICU for 10 to 20 days. Within 5 days, she was home. And then within 3 weeks, and I don't know if you can see right here, but that's not bird poop, that's puke. And so everything was fine. And again, the life lesson that I brought was sometimes you're not in control. A lot of times when you find yourself outside of your comfort zone, there's things happening that you might not be able to control. But this quote kind of paints the whole picture. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you cannot decide, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. A lot of things happen when you're outside your comfort zone. And it's exactly that. You're outside your comfort zone. It's not comfortable. But there is always a life lesson to be learned going through that experience. Whether it's having a kid, living in a foreign country. Those are just some things that come to my mind when somebody asks, hey, tell me about your life a little bit. And I hope not only that kind of expose a little bit about me and where I come from, but I hope you guys understand that no matter what, no matter how uncomfortable the situation is, there is always something that could be learned. And that's my extra thought.